because I usually figure I found my place with the good intentions when it's, well, I'll move over a little bit. I need a mic. Oh, you're the mic. You don't need a mic. Oh, you can have mic when you turn it off? No. But this is the story of the sower and the sower and the seed, part 2B, taken from the Dead Sea Tapes. Once upon a time there was a farmer who went out to sow seeds, and he threw some seeds, and one of the seeds went flying through the air, and it drifted through the breezes, and it floated on the trees, and eventually, yes?
We talked about support.
Yes.
That we need, well, this farmer had a family, and the farmer had a daughter who had learned the art of farming. The
Yeah.
farmer had just had knee surgery. Was not able to catch the whole field.
No, I don't see that in the scripture.
But anyway, the farmer handed the bag of seeds over to his daughter, who in turn became the farmer.
Hello? No, he's your dad.
Hi.
Oh, I did.
Well, anyway, the farmer who was injured sent his daughter out to throw seeds through the air. And one of the seeds went flying through the air and drifted on the breezes and floated through the trees. And eventually it settled gently to the ground. And it just lay there. But it was on a hill sort of so people could see it. It sort of rolled up there. And eventually the winds came and they blew the dust over the little seed and up its nose and under its clothes. And it sneezed. Well, coughed. And then it sneezed. And eventually the little seed was covered over by the earth. And then the rains came and they soaked the earth and they soaked the seed, and the seed swelled up and it cracked through its shell and it sent up a shoot, and the shoot sent up a leaf, and the leaf looked up and saw the sun and it waved at the sun and the sun waved back. The sun will do that. And this little plant grew taller and taller and stronger and stronger and drier, and it tried to get its roots down to where the moisture was, but it couldn't do it because it was on thin soil. So the little plant shriveled up and died. And it just lay there on the ground. No ambulance came along to pick it up. Didn't go to plant heaven, just lay there on the ground. One good intention gone wrong. Now, a year went by, and the farmer came out again to sow seeds, and he threw the seeds, and one of the seeds went flying through. Farmer. Yeah. And threw another seed, and the seed went flying through the air and floated on the breeze and drifted through the trees, and eventually, it too settled gently to the ground. And it just lay there, and the winds came and they blew the dust over the little seed and up its nose and under its clothes. And it sneezed. And eventually it was covered over by the earth. And then the rains came and they soaked the earth and they soaked the seed, and the seed swelled up and it cracked through its shell and it sent up a shoot. Shoot sent up a leaf. Leaf looked up and it saw the sun and waved at the sun. And the sun waved back. The sun will do that. And the sun beat down on the little plant and it grew taller and taller and stronger and stronger and drier and tried to get its roots down to where the moisture was, but it couldn't do it because it was on. So like it was thin soil. So like the first plant, it shriveled up and died. Rather willingly, actually. Now another year went by, and a farmer came out again to sow seeds, and he threw another seed, and the seed went flying through the air, floating on the breeze, drifted through the trees, eventually settled down to the ground, and the winds came, they blew the dust over the seed, up its nose, under its clothes. It was covered by the earth, the rains came down, and soaked the seed, swelled up and cracked through its shell, sent up a shoot, sent up a leaf, look up, saw the sun and waved to the sun waved back. Sun will do that. And the little plant grew taller and taller and stronger, drier and drier, tried to get its roots down to the moisture was, couldn't do it because it was on. So too it shriveled up and died. And another year went by, and the farmer came out again, sowing seed, another seed flying through the air, floated on the breeze, landed up. Okay, well eventually this stopped. But it had gone on for so many years that there was not one dead plant on the ground, there was an entire pile of dead plants. With sort of reddish brown hair and a blonde streak. And that pile of dead plants just sat there, and the sun began to beat down on the pile. It got really dry and brittle and dusty. And bugs and crickets and things started living. And then the rains came, and they soaked the earth, and they soaked the pile. And the pile just got all swelled up and mushy, and bugs and worms and grubs and things started living inside. And it started to decompose, and then the sun came out, and it baked it, and it got all dried again. And then the rain came and soaked it, and the sun dried it, and it was soaked and dried, and soaked and dried, and soaked and dried, and in winter it grows solid. And it was a long winter. Lasted well into April. Finally, the sun thawed out the pile. But during this pile, the time had been going through a change. It had been having sort of a radical conversion experience. And it was no longer what it had been. It had become an entirely new creation. It was no longer just a big pile of dead plants. It was now a great big pile of fertilizer. Compost. Approximately 5'6" monster. And it smelled really bad. And the pile just sat there steaming in the sun. And another year had gone by, and the farmer came out again to sow seeds. And he threw the seeds, and one of the seeds went flying through the air, floated on the breezes, and it drifted through the trees, and eventually it settled gently to the ground, right smack dab on top of that pile of fertilizer with reddish brown hair and a monster. And it just lay there. And then the winds came, and they blew the dust over the little seed, and up its nose and under its clothes. Sneezed. And then eventually it too was covered by the earth, and the rains came, and they soaked the earth, and they soaked the seed, and the seed swelled up and cracked through its shell, sent up a shoot. Shoot sent up a leaf. And the leaf looked up and saw the sun, and the sun waved at the sun, and the sun waved back. And the little plant grew taller and taller and stronger and drier, trying to get the roots down where the moisture was. But this time, it was not sitting on the soil. It was sitting right back down on 5'6" of fertilizer. And it grew taller and taller. It was able to get the roots down where the moisture was and the nutrients were. It grew stronger until it grew into a fine young tree. And it yielded fruit 100-fold. And the birds of the air came and nested in its branches. And the moral of the story is that often we look at ourselves and others, and all we can see is the faults and failed attempts and the things that went wrong. But that's not us. No one of us is ever just a big old pile of failures. Each one of us is a great big pile of compost. Just waiting for the next seed. I guess you get the idea. Now, what we're going to do real quickly is have a collection.